You're listening to.
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 Conversations with Amber the Bear Girl.
You're amazing.
Go Amber.
You're the best.
Hi guys, Amber here. Welcome back to In Conversation with ATF. My guest today is a voice actress, a comedian, a puppeteer, an assistant director, a story editor, a producer, an artist, a writer. Pretty much every single job you can think of in the world. She's done it all. She was the senior story and editorial assistant production manager for the Animaniacs reboot for Hulu, which has recently just ended. She was an animation coordinator for Goldie and Bear, that's the Disney Junior show. She was an office production assistant for shows like Secrets and Wives, Southern Charm, and Neighbours with Benefits. And she was also a unit production manager for the film Adventures in Failure. She has actually been coached by Laurie Allen, the voice actress. So she is she's like an artist and a voice actor. So essentially what I am. And she currently lives in Los Angeles with her dog Val. My guest is Leigh Culbertson.
Wow, hi Amber.
I did my research.
That was an embarrassment of riches as an introduction. Thank you so much. It boosted my little Leo ego. I appreciate it.
I just did research and I went into the whole depths of your website and was like, oh my gosh, she's done everything. Like, I don't know a lot of voice actors who are also artists as well. So for you to also like work behind the scenes on like the art as well as the voiceover aspect of it, it's just genuinely amazing because it's exactly what I'd like to do. But like for me, I don't really want to be an animator, if you get what I mean. I do art, but just for fun, like when I meet celebrities and stuff like that.
Yeah. Can I ask you how old you are?
I've just had a bit of a problem. What did you say? My headphones tend to do this. They connect to my phone at random times, so I lose all the sound. Would you mind repeating that, if that's okay?
That's okay. I was just asking how old you are.
Oh, I'm 19.
Okay, cool.
I didn't hear you, so I didn't. I was like, oh, I'm trying to.
That's cool. You've got so much time ahead of you, and so much like you can. I mean, I'm like you in that I'm neurodivergent and I just have so many interests and I'm so curious about so many different things. And so I have put my hands into so many different areas and places that I was just curious about and I wanted to know more about and wanted to be a part of. And that's why I have this very eclectic resume.
Yeah, of course. And honestly, it's such an honor to be chatting with you right now because obviously you've done so much. You've worked with the likes of Disney, Warner Brothers, all sorts of different people. And of course, you live in Los Angeles, which literally I'm waiting so patiently to get over there. I'm counting down the days.
Yeah, you're going to love it. You'll love it here. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some people say, oh, it's not as good as you think it is. And then some people say, oh, it's beautiful. So I don't.
It's better.
I know. I really want to believe
it's better.
Like
it's lovely. I mean, I've lived in lots of. I've never been to England, but I have been to Europe. I've lived in different cities. I lived in New York. I lived in Chicago. I grew up in outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and I even lived in Cleveland as an adult. And Los Angeles is like this really nice amalgamation of all those different cities. I think I love it. I love living here.
Oh, that's so cool. I cannot wait, honestly, not just to visit like all the landmarks and stuff I've seen on the internet, but also like to meet people who like you, who I've seen on Zoom and all these people who've done work for animation and stuff like that. You know, it's just, I'm just thinking about it now and I just like, I need to get preparing because like I need a good few months in advance to get something like plane tickets booked.
You'll have a blast.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to talk about firstly Animaniacs, the reboot that's just finished at Hulu. Unfortunately, everyone at home is just absolutely gutted. It's finished at season 3. I can't remember how long did the original one run for. I can't remember because I'm that old.
That's a great question. Oh,
I'm
look at that.
I'm this old.
That's exactly how old you are. Look at that VHS. I love it. That's amazing.
I prefer my DVDs.
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
The nostalgia factor for me is
Yeah.
huge for
So it's
sure. But
1994
yeah.
as the little copyright date.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. 1994, I was 9 years old. That was the
Oh.
original show was very near and dear to my heart. I was at that like ripe age of watching cartoons, and
Mhm.
we didn't have cable when I was a kid. It was just like before streaming services and all and the sort of explosion of
Yeah.
content. So Animaniacs was like one of the few like amazing quality shows that was accessible to me, and I really felt like I was in on the joke. And that's a great thing about Animaniacs when you're a kid, especially watching it, because they're referencing all of these things that as a kid you might not necessarily know about yet.
Yeah.
Like,
So it
in the
just goes
90s,
over
they
your head.
reference things like Alien or Christopher Walken or, all this stuff that like you might not know about yet as a 9-year-old, but they
Yeah.
still do it in a way that's like you're in on the joke, like you're part of this. Like we're like the Animaniacs, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot are there to bring you in on the joke and be like, you're one of us. And I think that was a big draw for me. That and the music. I was always like playing the CD with the music and like dancing to it with my friends and stuff. So having the opportunity to do it in my 30s and like I mean, talk about being a fan. It's wild to be able to like be a fan of a show and then 20 years later get to work on it and meet the people who worked on the original one and even like become friends with some of them. I was just watching your video of when you met Rob at the con, and you gave him that lovely drawing. He is so sweet. He's just the sweetest guy, and he's a huge ham. He's just such a ham, and I mean,
That was a
he's just so genuine. He's just that way. When I was watching the video, I was like, that's Rob. He loves his fans. He loves, yeah, he really, I mean, even when he was doing recordings, he would constantly mention, you guys have no idea like how much the fans love us, the fans, he's always gives lip service to the fans. So I loved watching that video. Anyway, what were you saying? What was your question?
Yeah, Rob was really lovely. It's the first time he did a convention in England,
Yeah, he
and
is.
I was very
That's
excited.
so cool.
Honestly. Yeah, and like I know
Yeah.
Maurice was meant to be there, but unfortunately he cancelled. So I'd love to try and get Maurice, Jess, and Tress over here. That would be really cool.
Someday,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, of course. Britain's waiting for them. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What I was wondering, is there any other Warner Brothers cartoons that you grew up with, especially in that 90s period? So let's say, I don't know, Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, I loved that. I watched that show like every day after
Yes!
school. Yeah. I watched it every day after school. I was really heartbroken when oh God, his name is slipping my mind. Is it Kevin?
Yeah.
The name of the voice actor, yeah, when he passed
Yeah.
away, because
Kevin
he's a
Conroy.
cool guy too. Kevin Conroy, that's it. I never got to work with him, but yeah, I love that show. I have three sisters, and we
Yeah.
would all sit and watch it after school together. That was really fun. And we also loved watching, what else did we watch? The Maniacs. I remember watching like the sort of they did like these Disney cartoons of like
Disney
the
Afternoon.
major like Renaissance movies that they didn't.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, like
well,
Little
yeah,
Mermaid, Aladdin, and stuff
like
like that.
Aladdin and yeah, DuckTales
And
and
Little Mermaid, yeah.
Tailspin and Little Mermaid. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
So you
watched a
had
lot of
like
those. But
those sort
as far
of
as Warner Brothers goes, I mean, I was always a Looney Tunes fan. Yeah, yeah,
you're either
that
a
was
Disney kid
those
or
were
one
the
kid or
two
both.
chunks.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
you got one side, you got Warner Brothers cartoon stars like Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Tiny
yeah.
Toon Adventures, anything Looney Tunes
Oh, Tiny
related,
Toons.
and Freakazoid. Yeah,
Yeah, Tiny Toons was another Freakazoid. That was another one. Yeah, that and my was it Felix the cat?
Felix, the Twisted Tales of Felix.
Yeah, there's all sorts of fun, crazy ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
um your memory's probably better about this stuff than mine is, but
Yep.
yeah,
pretty
I
much.
mean, I watched a lot of TV as a kid, so that was yeah, those were some highlights for sure.
Yeah, and of course you said about the Disney Afternoon one, so you got like, as you said, Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, Adventures of the Gummy Bears, Gargoyles, you know, everything like that. So yeah,
Gargoyles, yeah, that was the major one for me. It was Gargoyles. Yeah.
yeah,
We still
yeah.
love it in my family. My sisters and I still talk about it. And it's fun because they're starting to merchandise that stuff a lot
Are
more
they?
now than they did when we were even kids in the States. Like I just saw a Gargoyles board game the other day
Oh my
at like
gosh.
Target or something. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I was just like, oh, they're really, dipping into this millennial nostalgia stuff. Like they really know how to get us. So yeah, they're I wish they did a little more merchandising with our show, with the reboot of Animaniacs, because I
Yeah.
would have bought everything. But it's fun to like dig. I like to find the like Animaniacs McDonald's toys and stuff.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
because
I have quite a
McDonald's
collection of
company.
toys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
what I think was just kind of a bit thing was because Hulu, it was on Hulu, which is US only. So people like me in
Mm,
Europe, England, couldn't watch it. So I think that's just my
yeah.
opinion. That's kind of why it wasn't really that big outside of America, the reboot, because we couldn't even watch it. And the only
Mm,
way to watch it is to either find it online on like a pirated website. And yeah, that's pretty much it because
right.
we didn't get it on DVD as well. We only got the original on DVD because it did air over here back in the 90s. And of course,
Yeah.
VHS tapes. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I my best friend lives in Canada, and I don't know that they got to see it up there either. Maybe they did. I couldn't keep track of
yeah.
all that stuff. But I know that we did when we were making the show, we had to be sure to um when we were animating anything that had words on it, any scenes that had words, we had to make sure that they were easily liftable and replaceable. So if they were distributing it in another language, they could replace it. So I know that like it's possible. I know that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
definitely like possible that it could be put out in other countries. But yeah, I think that when it comes to that whole thing, I just like to kind of, not that I know exactly what happened, but I do like to remind people that when the deal was made for Animaniacs to be produced on Hulu or with Hulu, it was before HBO Max, now Max, was a thing. It was before Disney Plus. It was before a lot of these streaming services came out because the deal was made in like 2017 or 18. And so by the time it started coming out, you had
Yeah.
HBO Max, you had Disney Plus, and then Disney bought Hulu. And
Mm-hmm.
so suddenly Disney had a major Warner Brothers property on their platform, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense. So I think that like, at least as far as my observations go, so I think that it was like a miracle that it happened, like that we got to reboot this show at all and that we got to like
Yeah.
have fun for 3 years with it. But
Yeah.
sometimes one of the things about my experience is that I have a lot of insight into the sort of boring production and business side of things, and I can sort of see like how those affect artistic choices, which is
Yeah.
kind of what's happening now with all the strikes and
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah, because the writer strikes are
there's
going
always
on,
so
aren't they?
many. Yeah, the WGA, the Writers Guild of America, is striking right now. It's a major thing.
How long's that lasting until? Or is it
That's a
just
good question.
there's no end date?
No, I mean the end date is when they get to an agreement. Is
Agreement,
when
yeah.
their conversations and their talks end in a negotiation that they're both pleased with. The
Yeah.
last one happened, I think, in 2007,
Oh, so well,
and it
not too
lasted
far.
100 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a
Oh
hundred
my
it was a hundred
gosh.
days, and it was when streaming
Didn't
started.
exist.
It was right at the
Oh,
sort of the
started.
top of streaming. Yeah, it was just at the top, and writers were trying to protect their interests, and rightly so. And yeah, that lasted 100 days. So LA is an interesting place to be right now. You talk to any artist, because writing, as you know, is the top. It's the top of the line, the top of the production line. It's the first thing that happens. So it affects everybody else in the production, everybody else's job. So whether you're a producer or a boom op or an engineer or, an assistant, everyone's kind of looking around like, okay, like when are we going to be able to work again? It's kind of it's a funny time here in LA, but
have you been out protesting? Or have you been
I haven't gotten out yet in solidarity. I haven't. Okay. I'm not in WGA, but
right, okay.
Yeah, at least not yet. But I have a lot of friends that are in WGA that are picketing, and also friends that are in other unions like the Animation Guild, which is different, because actually animation writers are in the Animation Guild usually. They're not in WGA. At least it's not a requirement. So, but they've been really supportive, WGA or excuse me, the Animation Guild, which is also called TAG. So there have been a lot of animation people picketing and supporting them as well. But I've mostly done production, and production is only recently started to unionize. So I haven't joined a union yet. But maybe someday soon.
Yeah, of course. So quickly back to Animaniacs. Now, this is an interesting question I want to ask, because I'm genuinely curious. Of course, when you worked on the show, you got to meet a lot of people, and even like at the rap parties you went to, I'm pretty sure you've got to meet a lot of the voice actors from the reboot. Who have been some of your favorites to me, and why? Have you met before you answer that quickly? Have you met Frank Welker?
Yes, I have.
Hey!
Hey!
Yeah.
Frank Gang.
He's lovely. He's a lovely guy. Yeah. Well, so part of my job on Animaniacs was actually running the records. I sort of had to, I had to make sure that everybody had their scripts, that everybody, all the lines that might be added later on in the production are getting recorded. Those are called pickups. So I had to before we went remote, I had to print out all the scripts. I had to put them all in the folders. I had to make sure that all the actors had everything that they needed. And so I actually got to know quite a bit of the voice actors on our show. And and actually one of the coolest things about my job is that I really get to meet everybody. I got to meet everybody that works on the show. And so those rap parties are quite exhausting, because I have to talk to everybody. I have to talk to every department, every person that is involved in the show, because I get to, talk to them and coordinate with them. So yeah, Frank Welker, he is a lovely guy. He's super funny, super talented. And he was Ralph, and he did a few other voices on our show too, but yeah he's awesome.
I hope he's doing well now, because when I met Robin at Telford, he said that Frank's not been doing the concert with Peter Cullen because he's had a knee replacement. So he's not really been seen.
He's been around for a long time. I'm sure he's been like Fred from Scooby-Doo forever. I think he has the most IMDb credits after a Bollywood actor. He's number 2.
Wow.
For the amount of he's done.
Oh my gosh.
He's done everything.
I knew that.
Yeah, you should look at. I'm pretty sure that's true. He's number 2 or number 3 or something on amount of credits on IMDb. It's insane.
I'm gonna look at that now.
So many things.
Gonna have to look it up.
And
there's 2 other people who I'm interested in knowing your stories about. I believe he did work in person before COVID, but it was very rare. I'm not sure. I don't know the full story. But Corey Burton, he did a few guest spots on the Animaniacs reboot. Did you ever get to meet him?
Yeah, I think so. He did a few. I forget.
Oh gosh.
He did a few different voices for us.
And that he was mainly announcer voices.
Yeah, that's right. He has a great announcer voice. So
Yeah.
we brought him in for a lot of the announcing and stuff. So yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
got to meet
cool.
him and work with
Oh.
him.
Yes, and of course, the third person we all love, Tres McNeil, of course.
I know. I love
I'm
her so
literally looking at a
much.
picture of you and her at the rap party now, and I'm so super jealous. Super jealous.
Yeah, Tress is great. I think that she and I are kindred spirits, even though there's a huge age gap between us. We're like we got to know each other over working together, and we're both just, we're both solid weirdos.
Oh
We're
man,
both like
I'm
grade A
jealous.
solid weirdos, and we're just able to connect over that. So she's great. She's a lovely person. We like to call her the one take wonder because she probably is the only actor we worked with, besides maybe one or two others, that like would just come in, get the work done, and we were just like, oh, well, now we have like a whole other hour or whatever, because she just like could get she's just such a professional, and she's so talented. When I saw her at the rap party, I told her that she's basically an element at this point because her voice is just everywhere. It's just everywhere in everything. And because I've been catching up on like Studio Ghibli movies from the 80s and 90s, and because I just hadn't really gotten around to watching those until recently, and almost every one of those I'm just like, there's Therese again, there she is again. Like she's freaking everywhere, and she's been around for a while. So but yeah, that reminds me of Rescue Rangers. That was another big show that we watched as children, and she did, I think, several voices for that show.
Yeah, she was Chip and Gadget Hackbench, I think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kick myself for not remembering the last name properly. Might have been. Yeah, it was definitely Gadget Hackbench. I'm gonna look it up now, and that's not her.
You would know better than I. Yeah. She's a lovely person.
That is her name, Gadget Hackbench. I knew it.
I think one of the things that I learned working on Animaniacs with our showrunner Wellesley Wild was that it's okay to be a fan of people.
Yeah.
Because he's the showrunner, and we would have people come in that he was just such a huge fan of, and he would fan out, just like, I love your work, blah blah blah, and and every once in a while, and they just love to hear it. They love to hear from their fans. They love to hear that you enjoy their work. And because I've worked in this industry for a while, and I would always kind of be like, oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to like make them feel awkward or weird. And there is an art to it. You have to like pick your moments and all that, but it is okay to be excited about getting to work with people.
It's okay to fanboy or fangirl,
Yeah,
definitely.
about people. Yeah.
See where I get my name from now.
Yeah. Do you know who Maria Bamford is? She's have you watched the reboot?
Not, I've only seen a few episodes, and they were about a few years back when someone put them online, and it was only a good fit. It's basically someone put the whole of season 1 online, but I felt bad because obviously they were from one of those Kim cartoon websites, so I felt like I was illegally watching them, so I felt really bad, so I stopped, and I was like, we'll get an official release. We'll get an official release, and like 3 years later, I don't think we'll get anything.
There's a new mouse on Pinky and the Brain that shows up in a few of the episodes named Julia. And she's voiced by Maria Bamford, who is a fantastic comedian and voice actress. She has her hands in everything these days because she's just so talented. Are you familiar with Adventure Time?
Yes.
So she does a lot of different voices on Adventure Time, like Princess Hot Dog and things like that. But she did the voice for Julia, and that was a person who, when she came in, I remember leaving the studio and just seeing her in the waiting room and being like, oh, that's Maria Bamford. Hello there. And just being like, I don't even know how to act. And then when she came in, Wellesley was like, oh my gosh, Maria, I love your work. That's all the stuff that you've done. And she was like, oh, thank you. And, was so kind. And I was like, okay, so it's cool to be like a dork in front of these
Yeah.
people. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get involved in Warner Brothers, essentially, like with the Animaniacs reboot?
So uh I was living in New York City, and I had finished my job on Goldie and Bear.
Mhm.
And my partner and I at the time were planning on moving to Los Angeles because um, a he was and still is a character designer, and there's just a lot more jobs out here. So I just started contacting all the people I knew in LA, and a friend of mine who is a voice director, she connected me to the line producer at the time,
Yeah.
um, Harry, and I ended up getting the job through him. So for me, I've always found these jobs through networking and
Yeah.
talking to people,
Mm.
and relationships. And that's generally how I get work, is just by staying in touch with people and letting people know where I'm at and what I want to do. And yeah, I ended up getting the job, which was just like amazing. It's one of the
Yeah. I
coolest shows that I've gotten to work on. So
was
just
gonna say
felt very lucky.
to grow up with it and then actually work on an adaptation of it, it's probably just you're thinking, oh my gosh, like wow, this is actually happening. This is the dream job
Yeah.
I've wanted since I was a kid.
Yeah, we actually I put together this big poster that I put in the hallway of our office
Yeah.
of pictures of everybody on the crew um from the 90s. So like there was a picture of me in like third grade, and like pictures of, the directors and the artists and other producers from the 90s, just so we could sort of like look back at that person and be like, yep, I'm here. Like
What
this thing that you loved as a kid, we're doing it now.
what I found like really kind of peculiar is that all the voice actors, they were adults when they worked on the show in the 90s. They're still adults now. But back then, you were a kid and now you're an adult. That is so, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, we even had coordinators or assistant production managers on our show that were like not even born yet, or were like babies, when the show came
Wow.
out. And so we would have just like pictures of them in their little baby seat, like on the poster.
Man.
Um, yeah, it was really cool. And what's funny, that reminds me that Rob, who, like I said, is such a ham, just depending on when you grew up, he knew which voice to do to like get
Yeah.
you to giggle or like get you to be happy. Like there was a show called Biker Mice from Mars that he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. It was
And
throttle.
yeah, and my partner at the time had a bunch of the Biker Mice from Mars toys.
Yeah.
And when we were working remotely, I pulled out the one that he did the voice of, and he just immediately went into the voice. And my partner was like, oh my God, like that's a character. But like the kids, that were just born around Animaniacs, they grew up with like Jimmy Neutron. So he would do the voice of
Carl Weezer.
yeah, Carl Weezer. Yeah, which I heard he did for you when you met him. Um, and he
Yeah.
would get that reaction, and he loved, that's why he's such a ham, because he loves getting you to smile and getting you to
Yeah.
like laugh, and yeah, super fun for
Yeah.
them, I think.
Yeah, man, I haven't really heard from Rob since I met him about, oh my gosh, it's 2 weeks this weekend. I haven't heard from him. I have to check up on him, see how he's doing.
Yeah, you should. Yeah,
Yeah.
the one time I asked for a voice, because I generally didn't really do that, but the one time I asked was Maurice. I asked him to do the voice of oh God, what was the character's name on Zootopia? Which is
Mr.
like
Big.
the
He just
big
won an Annie
Mr.
for that as
Big.
well. Yeah.
I know. And
Yeah.
it was like one of the last days that I got to see him, and I was like, please do. I was like, Maurice, can you just say a rug made from the butt of a skunk? And he did it for me. Like, thank you. Like, day made. That's all I needed. A butt of a skunk. Yeah. He's so funny.
That is amazing. So, what does, I know your job, it says on my notes, senior story and editorial assistant production manager. What exactly do you do when you're in that position? What does an editorial assistant production manager do? What does that job comprise of?
That's a great question. You do a lot of different things. So mostly you're like overseeing the process between the script being recorded and the animatic being shipped off to the animation studios and everything in between. So the first thing that happens is we record this under my watch is you record the script, and then it goes to the storyboard directors and the storyboard artists, and they storyboard it, and then those storyboards get sent to the editors, and the director sits with the editors and they edit the storyboards together to create an animatic. And then when the animatic is done, that gets shipped to the animation studio, and then that's when I hand it off to the next department. So that involves a lot of emailing, a lot of mediating, a lot of tracking, just making sure that everything is going where it needs to go at the time it needs to go there.
Yeah.
Everything is on schedule. Everything is, just getting done when it needs to get done. Everybody has what they need to do the things that they need to do. One of the great things about my job is I got to sit in on all these different meetings and reviews where they talk about how to make the script better, how to make the voice acting better, how to make the storyboard better or the animatic. And part of my job was taking notes and making sure that those notes were applied to the show. If people, and there's a lot of just like negotiating that happens in that process, because sometimes the producers will be like, well, we need this, this, and this by this time. But then you go to the director and they go, well, we can't give you this, this, and this by that time, but we can give you this, this, and this by that time. So you're just sort of the go-between for those people and making sure that like everybody's getting most of what they want out of the production. Lots of people skills. It takes a lot of people skills, a lot of communication skills, a lot of mediating skills. It's good to be a people person and like being around people and talking to people. So I'm pretty good at that. Yeah. Oh, good.
You're not I'm not as I can kind of be sociable, but I'm working on it. Okay. Yeah.
It's not necessarily sociable. I think I'm very good at interpersonal relationships, like one-on-one stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you can get people to, trust you, and you sort of have like a demeanor that's like, I'm here to help. I'm not here to like make life harder for you. I'm here to make life easier. So like, if you feel like you can't get this storyboard done by the end of the week, what do you think we can get done by the end of the week? Or like, how much more time do you need? And then I will take that suggestion and go back to a producer or a director and say, hey, this is what they said they can do. How can we work with that? It's a lot of conversations. That's a lot of emailing. That's for sure.
That was a really good explanation. Thank you for explaining that, Leigh.
You're welcome.
That was really helpful.
Yeah.
We're back, and I've gained a fan and another fan.
Yeah, that's good for you. Is it hot there in England? Where in England are you, by the way?
I'm in Cheshire, which is up north. It was quite hot today, but like here, it's like my bedroom's quite hot. So my aunt got me this fan. She's Spanish, so like she has like a ton of these in like her house. So when I went to Madrid, she was like, "Oh yeah, just there you go." I'm like, ooh.
I need one of those too.
Oh man, literally.
I need a fan in here in my little like recording hole.
The amount of times I've needed
I could tell. I love your accent, by the way.
Thank you.
You have a great northern accent.
Yeah. Thank you. Really, that means a lot. It really does mean a lot, because I've had people in the past tell me my accent is annoying. So yeah, I know, it's just, you're thinking
that's not cool.
Sorry. I'm like, oh, sorry, you want me to speak
That's not
differently?
cool.
I know, it's like, I was gonna say, because I think I did receive
Haven't-
something in the past for that documentary when I was they were like, oh, she can't pronounce words properly, she has terrible diction because her accent's terrible. He thought I was faking my accent. What?
These are people who've never seen Game of Thrones, I guess.
These people have
There's all
never
sorts of
experienced
northern accents on
voiceover.
that show.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't appreciate accents. I mean, I love accents. I love them. And
Yeah.
I'm like a collector of accents. They're so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they are really, really cool, especially when you're doing voiceover and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's move over from Warner to Disney. Because you said before that you worked on Goldie and Bear and you're an animation coordinator. Now, what does an animation coordinator do?
Okay, so like I said before, when I was the story editorial coordinator and I handed off the show, basically when we shipped the animatic, that's when an animation or on Animaniacs it was called a post coordinator or a post production APM. So that was basically my job on Goldie and Bear, which was a different style of animation. So Warner Brothers was hand-drawn animation. So I had to learn a lot on the fly about how that's done because Goldie and Bear is a CG animated show, and that's just the production process is just a little different. So on Goldie and Bear, my job started when the animatic got shipped to our animation studios. And we worked with an animation studio in Vancouver. The name is slipping my mind right now, and it was more of the same. It was sitting in on reviews and, making sure that the notes were applied and that things were happening on time and that the animators were happy with the notes that we were giving them and that the director was happy with the notes that were applied coming back. And I got to work with Josh Greer, who was our animation director for that show. Very talented dude. And Chris Gilligan, who was our showrunner, he was a stop motion animator.
Wow.
Before he became a showrunner. Yeah, he worked on shows like James and the Giant Peach and Frank and Weenie and
wow, so a lot of the Tim Burton films then.
Yeah.
I so cool.
Yeah, so he was very picky about animation because his eye was so distinct when it came to animation motion. And if things didn't look smoothly for him, he would just be like, that one frame, like he would just pick out specific frames that were, bugging him. So I learned a lot about that part of the process when I was working on that show. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. So you worked on that from New York City, right?
Yes, I was in New York. It started with a small production company called Milk Barn, and then we moved over to Titmouse, New York. And they finished out the show there. It was a preschool show. So there's a lot of things that are different that I had to deal with in a preschool show versus Animaniacs. You have to deal with regulations for children that are watching the show. And you have to make sure that everything that's happening on the show is like there's nothing that's like gonna be repeated by a child that could be particularly harmful to them. I'm like, again, blanking on the name of the organization.
That's okay, take your time.
It's not the FCC. It's it'll come to me later. But we would get notes like if Bear fell down a hill or something, they would come back with a note like, Bear needs to be wearing a helmet while he's falling down the hill because it's unsafe. And so we would have to write into the show, like, how do we get a helmet onto Bear while he's falling down the hill so that these, kids aren't like doing things unsafely. Yeah. So it was applying lots of notes, and that was the show where Chris really taught me that like everybody on the show matters. Everybody that's working on the show, whether, down to the person who's delivering your mail and all the way up to the person who's an executive at Disney and giving you notes, like everybody matters to the success of this show. And he had a really great philosophy about like the more eyes on it, the better. The more people look at it, the better the show is going to be. So that was a great experience. That was the first animation show that I worked on. So I learned a lot from that.
Yeah, I definitely did. Would you like to do more work for Disney and Warner Brothers on their shows? Or are you currently working on anything from them?
I would love an opportunity to work with Disney and Warner Brothers again. I think that they're lovely companies to work for. I think the way that I look at Disney and Warner Brothers and DreamWorks and Paramount and all these places, I like to call them the movie factories. And the movie factories are the TV factories, and I love telling stories. So any way that I can get to tell a story is great for me. It doesn't really necessarily matter which company I'm working for. Disney and Warner Brothers are really cool to work for because they're institutions. Warner Brothers is celebrating 100 years.
100
right
years,
now.
yeah.
And working for that company, you can see how they've lasted that long. They really care a lot about their work culture there and making you feel like you're, part of the company, and, they take care of you and stuff. But they're also, they know how to save money and they know how to keep things going. And whenever there were things that would happen where I was just like, oh, these guys are being cheap or these guys are being, stingy, I was just like, but they've been around for 100 years and they've got to know something about that. They've got to know something about being sustainable and lasting for a long time. So it's definitely a different experience working, because when I worked for Disney, I wasn't really working as a Disney employee. I was working as an employee for Titmouse, which is the production company that made this Disney show. But we were working with Disney executives and things like that to make it. But when I worked on Animaniacs, I worked for Warner Brothers, which was a different kind of experience, working for a large institution like that versus working for, something younger, something newer, something a little more startup-y. They're just a little different, but any capacity that I get to tell stories is fine by me. That's why I do so many things, Amber. That's why whatever I can do to make stories. Yeah, I'll do it, whether it's, voice acting or directing or producing or writing. I just I love stories. Yeah.
Do you like to do art, like draw?
Not professionally.
Same as me then.
But I do. I do it for fun. I do it for fun. I love making art. I mean, I love painting. I love drawing. I love collaging. I love, all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
love it.
Yes, that was fun.
Any way you can express yourself is a good way.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to talk to you now a little bit about your voiceover career. What have you done so far? Tell me all about it.
I wouldn't say that it's a career. I would say that I'm just kind of dipping my toes in. I worked with Lori Allen, who is lovely, and she helped me produce my voiceover reel. And mostly I've just been working on just recording things when I want to, and I haven't really gone head first into that quite yet, but I do plan on it in the future. Yeah, it's mostly like I like to create what I like to call a creative toolbox. So when there's an opportunity, I can plug myself in. So when I lived in New York City, I took classes in puppeteering for film and television just because I love puppeteering and I wanted to see if I could do that and what kind of people I could meet while I was doing it. And while I was taking that class, I actually met the person who helped me get my first job in animation. So for me, it's about joining a community and bulking up your creative toolbox and just having those tools ready to go when those opportunities arise and you can plug yourself in. So yeah, that's just, voice acting is part of my toolbox. I was a theater major as well in college, so I've got all the skills and talents ready to go if anybody is looking for anything.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I would like. If I did a project, I would definitely love to hire you as a voice actress for it, whether it's like narration or simply just a character or anything like that. Because I'm thinking, why not? Over the summer, I'm thinking of writing my own little stories, doing voices, sticking them on YouTube, see what people think. Just to entertain people. Just put
Yeah,
it out there.
that's the best way to go. Everyone will tell you out here that the best way to crack into the business is to just make your own stuff, and you're doing it,
Yeah.
girl. You're making all your own stuff, and the more stuff that you make and show, the more people will know what you're about and know what you can do and what you like to do.
Yeah.
And that's really what gets you your work. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see Leigh Culbertson in the voiceover credits as well as the art credits in the future.
Me too. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
bless you.
Yeah, someday.
Have
Someday.
you got anything coming up that you're
I love your
working on?
shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Nice little NASA shirt that I'd wear. I'm literally just fiddling with blue tack for some reason. Don't know why. It just
I
sounds
live
focused.
I live just south of NASA. We're up in Altadena. They're
Really?
just up there.
Wow. Oh, that's so
Yeah, when
cool.
you're here, you should check it out. Yeah, we've got the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Labs up there, and NASA is up
Mm,
there, and all that stuff. I'm telling
really
you, it's
cool.
better than you think. LA is
Oh,
better than you
yeah.
think.
Yeah. I'm
It's a
taking your
creative
word for
place.
it. I'm definitely taking your word
Anyway,
for it.
what's coming up for me? Good. Um, what's coming up for me? I that's a really good question, Amber.
If you're protected under
I've been going
NDAs,
through a sort of
that's
a major
okay.
transition these last
Oh,
no NDAs.
oh, right,
It's
okay.
just let's see. I've been writing a lot of music. So I'm also a musician, so
Ooh.
I've
Oh, you're a
been
musician
getting
as well.
more into that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
I'm a
cool.
classically trained upright bassist, and I also
Wow.
play jazz, and I'm also a singer. So I've been writing a lot of
Ooh.
music and a lot of poetry, and I'm hoping to be putting a lot of that stuff out there pretty soon. So if people want to listen to some new music, that's probably what they'll hear from me um
That's so
in the near
cool.
future.
You said
Yeah.
you were going through some sort of transition. What?
hmm
Yeah. What's
Yeah, I
happening
got a new
there?
place. I left my last relationship and I got a new place, and there's just a lot of like upheaval in the industry right now, with the strike, and
Yeah.
so there's a lot of people in LA, I think, that are going through through transitions right
Yeah.
now, just
Yeah.
trying to figure out
Definitely.
what's next. You know, AI is a big question mark for a lot of people out here, artificial
Yeah.
intelligence, and
Yeah.
um, there's just a lot of upheaval in the industry right now. So there's a lot of just people like looking around going like this, like what's going to happen? And my attitude about it is just that like things will work out, and AI is a tool. I think it's all these new technological tools kind of like come out and freak people out, and it upheaves the industry a bit. But in the end, people always end up turning inward and understanding just how important storytelling and art is to
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
Essentially.
it'll be okay.
Sweet. And
Yeah.
my final question to you is, have you got any advice for any people out there who are like us too multi-talented, so like artists as well as like who are also singers, voice actors, like content creators,
Yeah.
anything like that? What's your best quotes or maybe a little bit of advice you like to give? Words? I don't know.
The advice I love to give young artists, there's two, there's a few things. There's a mantra that I came up with in my 20s when I started really chasing after my career, which is two things. take action, have faith. Because at the end of the day, that's all you can really do. You can take action towards the things that you want to do and have faith that something's going to happen. Something's going to come of it. And just reminding myself, I've been telling myself that for, the last like decade or two, and it's been really helpful for me. So take action, have faith. The other thing that I think young artists really need to understand is that your value comes from waking up in the morning and taking your first breath. That's it. Your value doesn't come from a director. It doesn't come from a producer. It doesn't come from a casting director. Your value is already there. You're already valuable. So if you can understand that, that's going to take you really far in this industry, because otherwise you'll get really disappointed, because directors and casting directors and producers, like, they're just human, and they're just making a show, or they're making a project, and it's not about your validation doesn't come from them hiring you or telling you that you're what they want. Your validation comes from within you. So that's something that, like, it took some time for me to understand, but it's also something I see a lot in this industry. People look for external validation for their value, but your value is inherent just by being here. And the other thing is just to have fun. It's fun, do the things that turn you on, do the things that excite you, do whatever you want. Like, there's no one right way to do it, especially now that there's so many different ways to access stuff. There's so many ways to put your work out there and meet people. And, you have a really big jump start on this, because you've already putting yourself out there in so many different ways, whether it's your work, tracking people down and meeting them and giving them your stuff and talking to people. I've never looked very good on paper. I had horrible grades in school, and, wasn't a great student because I have ADHD, and, I just express myself and learn in different ways. And the way that I always got work and built my community was by networking and talking to people. And you're doing it, girl. You're doing it already. So I think you're going to be just fine. Honestly.
Thank you, Leigh. Thank you, Leigh. And you're doing a really good job too. Trust me.
All your dreams will come true. Oh, thanks, Amber. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Wow. Oh my gosh. Leigh, thank you so much for joining me on my podcast. It's been lovely to talk about all cartoons, voice actors. And I feel bad for not bringing up anything to do with like the live action stuff that you've done, like Secrets and Wives and everything like that. I think because it's more cartoon based. Yeah, it's more cartoon based on my show. Maybe part 2 someday. I don't know. It's up to you.
You never know. Yeah.
Yeah. So where can my viewers find you on the internet? Have you got anything to promote? Have you got a website? Social media handles?
You can find me on Instagram at Leigh.Culbertson. You can find me on Twitter at Leigh's Name Here. You can find me on my website, leighculbertson.com. That's where you can sort of figure out what I'm doing right now. That's a good spot to go.
Oh, wow, I'll definitely put those in the description for everybody to go and visit you. So, to you guys at home, thank you so much for watching this episode of In Conversation with ATF with the lovely Leigh Culbertson. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, stay happy, and be yourself, be kind to others and yourself, of course. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, Amber.
You're welcome, Leigh, and
Appreciate
we'll see you around. All right, bye, and cut.